A global shipping meltdown? The Suez Canal, the lifeline of 12% of global trade, faces an unprecedented crisis. Bottlenecks, climate challenges, and massive ships threaten its $5 billion annual revenue. And the stakes couldn't be higher, with rival megaprojects totaling over $300 billion racing to capture its share. The question is clear: can this 19th century icon survive the 21st century storm? Well, let's take a journey back in time, all right? Imagine it's the 19th century. Ships traveling between Europe and Asia had to take a long, dangerous route around the southern tip of Africa. It added weeks to the journey, not to mention huge costs. People dreamed of a shortcut, but it seemed impossible. Then came the Suez Canal. And it wasn't just a canal, it was a game changer, a revolution in global trade. This 120-mile marvel, completed in 1869, wasn't easy to build. Picture thousands of workers digging under the blazing Egyptian sun, facing diseases like cholera and battling endless sand. Engineers had to figure out how to connect two seas without locks, letting water flow freely. And they did it. The Suez Canal became one of the greatest engineering feats of the 19th century. It cut travel time dramatically. What used to take weeks now took just days. It transformed maritime shipping forever. But here's where the story gets interesting, folks, and complicated. The canal is still vital today. Over 20,000 ships pass through it every year, carrying everything from oil to electronics. Yet the Suez is facing some serious problems. Let's start with size. Ships have grown massive. The canal wasn't built to handle giants like the Ever Given, the ship that got stuck in 2021 and blocked the entire canal for 6 days. That one incident disrupted global trade, costing about $10 billion a day. Then there's the climate. Rising temperatures are causing more extreme weather like sandstorms and high winds, which make navigation tricky. Remember the Ever Given? Strong winds played a role in that disaster. Experts warn it could happen again, especially as storms get more intense with climate change. And don't forget politics. The canal runs through a region that's seen its share of unrest. In the past, it's been shut down due to wars, revolutions, and blockades. Even now, tensions in the Middle East can make this critical trade route feel shaky. All these problems have ripple effects. When the canal is blocked or slowed down, it disrupts supply chains worldwide. Freight costs skyrocket, and products take longer to reach you. A delay at the canal can mean empty store shelves or pricier goods. But here's the big question. If the Suez Canal faces so many challenges, is it time to think about alternatives? Could we build a better way to replace this iconic waterway? It's a fascinating idea, and one that many countries and companies are already exploring. The race to replace the Suez Canal is on, with rival megaprojects emerging around the world. Each one claims to offer faster, cheaper, and more reliable shipping routes. But could any of them truly dethrone a maritime giant that has stood for over 150 years? Well, let's find out. See, one of the most ambitious alternatives under consideration is the Ben Gurion Canal project in Israel. This plan envisions a canal cutting through the Negev Desert, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Gulf of Aqaba on the Red Sea. This could create a direct route that bypasses the Suez Canal entirely. The strategic benefits are clear. It would reduce reliance on a single choke point and provide a critical link for global shipping. Estimated at a staggering $100 billion, the project would require an enormous amount of excavation and infrastructure development, especially to navigate the mountainous Negev terrain and the unique topography of the Dead Sea Basin, which lies well below sea level. The canal's proponents argue it could offer substantial benefits, including faster transit times and the ability to handle larger vessels that might face size restrictions in the Suez Canal. But the project faces significant hurdles. Security is a top concern as the region has seen frequent conflicts and instability. The canal's proximity to congested areas and its potential vulnerability to military threats such as rocket attacks from hostile groups could make it a risky venture. And on top of that, the plan to use nuclear explosives for excavation in earlier proposals raised alarm bells, and environmentalists have expressed concerns about potential ecological damage. Could Israel's bold vision become a reality, or is it too ambitious to compete with the established Suez Canal? Iraq is also throwing its hat into the ring with the route of development. This isn't just a canal, it's a massive 1,200-kilometer network of roads, railways, and ports stretching from the Persian Gulf to Turkey and potentially onward to Europe. At its heart is the Grand Al Fwa port, which could host some of the world's largest trade ships with a depth of up to 19.5 meters. The project, estimated at $17 billion, promises to cut shipping times by up to 15 days compared to the Suez Canal. That's huge for shipping companies looking to save time and money, but Iraq's political instability and questions about long-term funding have overshadowed its progress. Could this be Iraq's big chance to reclaim its ancient role as a trade crossroads? Or will the hurdles prove too steep? Meanwhile, the Arctic opens up new possibilities as global warming melts ice along northern shipping routes. The Northern Sea Route, which runs along Russia's coast, offers a shorter path between Asia and Europe, cutting up to 10 days off traditional routes. But navigating icy waters is no small challenge. Seasonal access, high insurance costs, and environmental concerns make this a tricky proposition. It's a route that promises speed, but only for those willing to take on the risks. Could this become a viable year-round option, or will the Arctic's extreme conditions limit its appeal? There's even talk of rail-based solutions. Saudi Arabia, for example, is investing heavily in rail corridors to connect its ports with inland logistics hubs, offering a land-based alternative for certain types of cargo. While rail can't replace shipping for bulk goods like oil and grain, it could siphon off higher value goods that require faster delivery times. These projects are still in the early stages, but they show how countries are thinking outside the box to challenge the dominance of traditional shipping routes. Now, all of these projects sound impressive on paper, but let's be real, none of them are perfect. The Ben Gurion Canal could theoretically rival the Suez Canal's importance, but its astronomical costs and security challenges make it a risky bet. The route of development has the potential to reshape Iraq's economy, but political instability could derail its progress. And the Northern Sea Route? It's a gamble on climate change, short-term gains versus long-term environmental impacts. But guys, here's the thing. The Suez Canal isn't just sitting around waiting to be replaced. The Suez Canal Authority has been proactive in upgrading its infrastructure to stay competitive. In recent years, they've added new bypass lanes, deepened existing channels, and invested in advanced traffic management systems to handle the growing size of modern ships. The Ever Given incident in 2021 was a wake-up call highlighting the need for better capacity and flexibility. In response, Egypt has doubled down on making the canal more efficient, even offering toll discounts and incentives to retain its loyal customer base. They're also thinking about the future. With climate change threatening to raise sea levels, the Suez Canal Authority is exploring ways to adapt, ensuring the canal remains operational for decades to come. These efforts show that Egypt understands the stakes. Losing relevance imbalance would be disastrous, not just for Egypt's economy, but for global trade as a whole. The canal handles about 12% of world trade and is a critical link between Asia and Europe. If shipping lines start using alternative routes, it could mean longer shipping times, higher costs, and pricier goods for consumers worldwide. The ripple effects could be felt everywhere, from China's exports to Europe's imports and from Middle Eastern oil to global energy markets. So where does this leave us? The race to replace the Suez Canal is heating up, with countries pouring billions into projects they hope will change the face of global shipping. But replacing a century-and-a-half-old icon is no small task. Each contender has its strengths, but also significant weaknesses that could hold it back. Could the Ben Gurion Canal overcome its challenges, or will the Arctic's icy corridors emerge as a new frontier in global trade? Share your thoughts on the most viable alternative. Subscribe for more mega project stories, and let's explore these fascinating changes together. Don't forget to check out our previous video on Russian engineering to navigate above the mountains.